How we doing, people? We're back again with another show. England and Spain, it is done. The Euros is done. The Copa America is done, which means club football will be back. But today we are going to be talking about last night's game. We will touch on Arsenal transfer news, and we will be here most days talking about Arsenal transfer news from now on. But today I thought that we'd talk about England with myself and Lee Judges. Big up to everybody in the chat. Make sure you've hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to both of us. And Lee, ask you how you are, mate.
Yeah, I'm all good. Disappointed about last night, if I'll be really honest. I felt at 1-1, we had it. You know, I had money on the game and England from the word go. I genuinely thought that we was going to win it. I look back at it. I don't care what people say about Spain. Good, yeah, the best team in it. At the beginning of the tournament, they weren't even fancied. You know what I mean? We was, I think, by far the better squad, by far the better players in it. Backup players that would get into most teams in the tournament. And yeah, and we just come up short again in the final. And yeah, you can say, looking at, you know, we just spoke off air about it. Perhaps a few of the players looked a bit jaded, and I can mention them all if you want, like Jude Bellingham, Foden, Saka even weren't quite at his best. Harry Kane. You know, the list goes on really, like from players. I'd even put Declan Rice as like one of them in there as well. Like, it wasn't quite up for it. But for me, the biggest question now is what happens with Gareth Southgate. And if the news is coming out, Dan, that Harry Kane wasn't fit and they continued to play him, then two people are accountable for that. First of all, Southgate, and let's ask the question: whose fault is it? Southgate for picking him, or for Harry Kane to say that he's fully fit? When you've got two players in Watkins and Ivan Toney that must be sitting there and thinking, well, I'm fully fit, and you're playing a half-fit player. And then you have to ask your question. Ben White, no wonder he left, because it just seems like favouritism. Now, don't get me wrong, Dan. Harry Kane deserves to be on that trip, deserves to be in the squad, and deserves to be given a shout because of what he's done in the past. I'm not disputing that. But when you could clearly see there was something wrong with him, clearly see that he wasn't at his best, and I'll be honest, you know, even at his worst, and he was at his worst, I've never seen him play so bad. He still scored 3 goals. So imagine if he was at his best then, England would have won this tournament. You know, but he wasn't. So the question is, you know what I mean? Again, Harry Kane walking out to a final when he's nowhere near fit. Now, this happened in the Champions League final back in 2019. Nowhere near fit enough. Pochettino played him. Look what happened. We play him yesterday. Look what happens. You know, is it Harry Kane being like selfish, or is it, you know, certainly not the team player? Because if you're a team player, Dan, you hold your hand up and say, you know, look, I love to play in this, but I'm not fit. Yeah, I think that has to be like on either one of them. Like, if I'm being honest, but at the end of it, like, I do think, like, you know, Walker hindered Saka as an attacking player, because like Walker just gets in the way of him. There was one time when Saka had a one-on-one situation and Walker come running up alongside of him, bringing players into play. He was ridiculous, you know what I mean? Like, Ben White knows how Saka plays. I think that was something that could be done on the left-hand side. You know, I think that, if I'll be really honest, Southgate got that right with Luke Shaw in the end, because he was fit for when it really mattered and contributed. But Southgate, I think, fell short a little bit, like, which we always knew that he was. Now, should he be sacked for that? I'm not so sure, because you know, if you're not quite good enough, that we'll have to wait and see, like, you know. So, well, for me, I'm just disappointed, because I think that we had it at 1-1. I think we really did have it at 1-1, Dan. I felt that we was going to go on and win it. We had the ascendancy, and for whatever reason, we backed off a little bit, like, you know. And listen, every single player in that team, and I'm going to go through it if you want, like, have got question marks over him. And people laugh at me and go, well, Jordan Pickford. Well, I thought his kicking yesterday was atrocious. I mean, atrocious. He made a fantastic save in the second half, but it was from his poor kick. He ain't very good on the floor, Dan. If I'll be really honest, he's not. Right, Walker, not so sure now. Stones and Gay, I thought done okay, and that's a good central defensive partnership. That's the only thing that I would like to see, Main, who I thought was brilliant. I've got to say that, you know what I mean? He come in and him and Declan Rice were okay. But I don't think Rice was at his best, by the way, Dan. I don't think he was nowhere near the Arsenal player. I'll be really honest. Like Foden, well, you know what I mean? Like he's had more chances than I don't know what, and didn't quite do it. And the front three, you know, yesterday you have to ask for it. Like, you know, Jude Bellingham was playing what sort of wide left. You know what I mean? So I don't think any of them come out of any glory of it. Like, you know what I mean? I see Ronnie's in the chat about Rice's in midfield shocking. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, well, you'd know about shocking midfield players, Ronnie. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, you've had quite a few in the past. So I'm going to take your word for it if you think Rice is shocking, because you'd know all about that. Like, you know, fancy being English and supporting Tottenham, because I fucking know how they feel now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, unbelievable. Like,
yeah, supporting Spurs in England, that must be horrendous, mustn't it? My God.
Because even when you think that you're going, you know, you're the better team in North London, you don't end up winning nothing. And like, even in this tournament, I thought we was the best team. I thought we was, and we've ended up not winning it. And yeah, you know, what that game was crying out for yesterday was a Grealish or a Rashford. I'll be honest, people have been saying that to me today. You know, I've been down the gym and said, oh, if we'd have had Rashford or Grealish out, I know they wasn't playing well. And I get that. I get what everybody's saying. They were not playing well. But, Mr. Southgate, you took Harry Kane, who wasn't fit there. You know, I mean, you took Luke Shaw, wasn't fit there, and one of them worked out well, like, you know. But you have to say, and this is where I think Ben White is right about him, like, because he says one thing and does another, Dan. And that, you know, that is the thing that I don't like about him, like, you know. Yes, be bold with what you're going to do and whatever, but realistically, you've left out two players that could have contributed. All right, weren't in great form, but then you've sort of played Harry Kane knowing that he's injured. If that is what's being said, then, you know, and that's shocking. That's shocking.
Yeah, my thoughts last night were Spain were the better side, and in fact, in the second half, when Rodri come off and everyone got excited, somehow that confused England and Spain looked completely better. And I thought our midfield got dominated, and there was so much space in that midfield. You know, we joke with Ronnie. I love Declan Rice, but I thought he was poorly. I've got to say, I didn't think he was a very good game at all. I thought Foden was invisible. Harry Kane wasn't fit. Bellingham tried to do glimpses, but weren't really taking control of the game. I thought defensively, it's one of the worst performances I've ever seen consistently from Kyle Walker. I have never seen him like he is now. Is he finished as a footballer or something? Because he's been awful this tournament. I mean, you're giving him a 3 or 4 out of 10, you know, for the whole of the tournament. He's been terrible. John Stones, this is supposed to be a centre half that's won everything. This is supposed to be the experienced head helping out the lad next to him. Well, the lad next to him looks better than him. Mark Gare, he's been one of our best players, in my opinion, this tournament. Been better than Stones. Now, I know people were trying to blame him for the goal last night, but take a look at Walker for that goal and take a look at what's going on that left-hand side. It's absolutely abysmal from as far as England are concerned. I thought Luke Shaw was player of the match last night for me, considering he ain't been fit, apparently. I thought he had a really good game. And, you know, considering he's got Lamine Yamal on his side, I thought he did really well against him. I think he got beat once. And to be fair, Yamal's been beating everybody all tournament. You know, he's been one of the best players. So disappointing from England last night. But I'll tell you what frustrated me the most. He brought on Palmer, which was a good substitution, but he brought everybody on way too late. Watkins, I mean, Kane, how was he coming out for second half, really? Tony, another 30 seconds he flings him on for. What's the point of that when you need a goal? And what wound me up even more was when they equalised And all the fans are going, come on, we can win this. And he's got Conor Gallagher waiting on the sides to come on. And I thought to myself, he's done He don't know what he's doing, does he? He doesn't get this. He thinks we have to shore it up again now and try and win on penalties again. Is that what he's playing for? Extra time and penalties. Shore it up, boys. Get Connor on. Konza, go and get yourself warmed up. It's 1-1. Like, come on, man. We need a more attack-minded coach now. And I understand that people like him. I actually quite like him, actually. I like listening to him. I think he's great with the media. I love everything that he talks about, being how proud he is for England and being patriotic. But sometimes nice men don't win things. And I think he's a nice guy that ain't going to win anything for England. In those 4 tournaments that he's been the England manager, he had to have won at least one by now. And he's bombed out of all of them. And the best analogy I can give you, Lee, this is like Arsenal getting a run in the FA Cup and beating Chesterfield, Swindon, Leyton Orient, Lincoln, Huddersfield, and then getting Man City in the final and losing. And everyone going, well, he got us there, he got us to the final. Well, of course he did. How are you going to lose against them teams? You're not going to, are you? So you get to the final, well played. You did well, you've got to the final. You should have. You'll be sacked if you didn't, but at least you've done it. You're not going to get sacked. Now it's the big test. Fouled. Test against France. Fouled. Test against Italy. Fouled. Test against Croatia. Fouled. Every single hurdle. And let me tell you this, against Italy and Croatia, they didn't even look that amazing, in my opinion. No. At least France and Spain look goodly. France beat us, and I know that Harry Kane missed the penalty, and you can blame it on him if you want, but France are a good side back then. Spain, good side in this tournament. Very good, in fact. Really surprised me. But Croatia and Italy, there's no excuses. And for me, the most negative part of it was, in fact, that word. He is a negative manager. He is defensive-minded. He honestly believes that once you go 1-1, you have to shore it up. You got to go and win the game, man. That's my problem. And look, I understand people like Southgate. I understand people do. I understand people like Arteta. I understand people like Pep. All these managers they've got. But Pep wins things. And at the moment, there's question marks whether Arteta can get us across the line. And at the moment, there's big question marks over whether Gareth Southgate can get England across the line. And it don't look like it's going to happen. Now, I agree with you. If Harry Kane was not fit, and let's be real, Lee, he was not, and he has said, I want to play, sometimes you as a manager have to get involved and go, Harry, I love you, mate, and I know you want to play, but I want to win. And I don't want to put you out there for sentimental reasons. I want to win, mate. So I will bring you on in the last 20 minutes if you think you can give me 20, but you ain't starting. Or I'll give you a half. But if you ain't playing well enough, I'm going to sub you at half time. That's what a good manager does. Southgate left him on and on and on. And I'm thinking, when is he going to bring him off? And Foden, by the way, I mean, Foden comes off for Tony in the 89th minute. I mean, what is going on there? The guy was invisible for the whole game. He had one shot on goal where I thought maybe, should have done better. Maybe he did all right to get something on the end of it. But that was all he did. And I saw no change whatsoever. The last thing I'll say, Lee, and I don't, know what your thoughts are about this. Some of the best managers out there use their squad. And I don't think Southgate used a squad. I think he used 13 players, but I don't think he used a squad. So what I mean by that is he brought on Watkins. He used Tony for, I think it was a combined 6 minutes. He used Palmer for a little bit as well. And he brought in Konza when he got suspended. But other than that, I didn't see Gordon. Why did he go? Might as well left him at home. Why did that Adam Wharton go? He's been tearing it up. He's been linked with Real Madrid and Man City today from Palace. What was the point of him? He might as well stayed at home. Trent Alexander-Arnold. What more does he have to do to get into this team? I understand that. I mean, that's one of the best players I've seen in a very long time on the ball. In terms of delivery, there's nobody better. I haven't seen enough of him. When we did see him, it was in midfield. And when he realised that didn't work, he just bombed him out the side. Didn't even bring him on the pitch, apart from to take a penalty. So there's a lot of players, Eze, Jared Bowen, that are probably doing a little bit of a Ben White here and going, is there any point of me being a part of this squad? I'll never say no to me country. Of course, that's the argument that people are saying is out of order and disgraceful on Ben White's side, is that he's let his country down by saying, no, bollocks to England. I don't really like football and don't really watch it. So I can understand why people get the ump with him. But if he's fallen out with Southgate, he ain't going to get picked and go, is he? But this is different. These are these players looking at the squad thinking, am I going to get a chance here? Doesn't really look like it. What more does Gordon have to do to get onto the pitch? We needed a left-hand side outlet. The whole of our left-hand side was even worse than what Arsenal have been this season. And we've been moaning about our left-hand side. It was the exact same in England. Luke Shaw balanced it up for a bit. Saka played there for a bit. But Trippier was poor there. Foden was poor there. And we didn't try and change it up once by having Palmer or Gordon out there. He put Bellingham out there or Foden out there. So I just think there's been too many question marks over Gareth Southgate's decision-making. His in-game management's been poor. He's very, very negative and plays it safe and shores it up when he doesn't need to. And I've never seen this England team in the 4 tournaments he's been the manager once go give it 110% and go for it. There's never been any attacking creativity in this side under Gareth Southgate. And that's ultimately why I think he should go. Now, if you're asking him to make the decision, I think he'll stay. The FA definitely want to keep him because he's perfect for the FA. Absolutely perfect for the FA. I want to ask you what you think will happen with him now. Do you think that he feels like he's taken them as far as he can go? Do you feel like he's got the hunger to go one more, at least tournament-wise? And if you don't think that, who's coming in, Lee? You know what I mean?
This is the question. You know, like just saying about the squad rotation and all that. Like a lot of teams do that. Look at Zubimendi yesterday. Like he's hardly played in this tournament. Then, like you know what I mean. If I've been really honest, he hasn't. He come in again with Rodri. I thought he was superb. So maybe they're not playing, but you've got to be somehow ready to play. And to be fair to Southgate and to the England boys, every time Palmer's come on, he's looked the business and done the business. And even though when Gordon come on, he done well. As we said, Luke Shaw when he's come on, I just think at the end of the day, a little bit too much loyalty on players that have been there for a little while. Too much loyalty to Kane. Too much loyalty to Foden. If I'll be really honest, you know what I mean. I had a chat with someone today about Foden. You know, I don't know what it is. He seems to get a free pass, you know what I mean? Like, he was excellent against Holland. He was excellent against Holland for one half until they shored it up, and then we didn't see him after that. Other than that, he's not contributed in any of these games. Listen, we're not having a go at him when we say that. It's just a fact. He just wasn't. He's tournament. He's not been. He's not the Foden for Manchester City. He is for England. Now that has happened to a lot of players in the past, Dan. You know what I mean? John Barnes was sensational for Liverpool. Never relayed that with England. Paul Merson was fantastic at club football. Didn't relay in international.
Andy Cole. I mean, Andy Cole won.
You could even probably mention Scholes and Gerrard in that same sort of category. Lampard as well. So
even Wrighty, you know, Ian
Wrighty,
really,
it does happen. It happens. So I get that. So I'm like, but there is a little bit of loyalty towards that, like you know, and sometimes it just is the way it is, and sometimes you know, like I think that when you've got someone like, if I'm Cole Palmer, and you know, I would be like moaning and groaning like that, going, you know, like, come on, I Foden weren't doing the business. I should have come in. Now, a lot of these other teams, Dan, if I'll be really honest, they might have their best player, not quite at it, but they haven't got no one to come in and replace them. That's how it is, you know, so you have to keep with it. It wasn't like that with England, you know what I mean? Foden's not quite doing it. We've got Cole Palmer coming on and doing the business. So at the end of the day, you have to relent and go, do you know what? I'm going to play him. And we look so much sharper and better when he come on and he did give us that. Now, at the end of it, he might not be great starting games. He may tire and not be that player. But you're right what you're saying. Foden stayed on to the 89th minute and really stood out of desperation because we'd conceded the goal. Let's look at Walker. I get it, you know, loyalty and all that. He's like vice captain and everything like that. He was just an accident waiting to happen, in my opinion. It happened in the final, you know. So Trent's looking at that and thinking, well, when am I going to get a go here? Like, you know, he must be going home now feeling a little bit disillusioned.
Yeah.
Now, what I feel the FA have got to do is make a decision here, and the decision that I'll be sitting around going is, you know, you could lose a few players from this, Dan. If I'm well, we all know that Ben White's gone there, like, do you know what I mean? But it could be other players now that could turn around. Do you know what? I'm not, you know, Tony and Watkins could turn around and go, do you know what? I ain't playing second fiddle to someone that's injured. Cole Palmer could turn around and say, do you know what? I ain't playing under this no manager no more. Trent could actually say it like, so I think we've got to be really, really careful. Two things that are going for him, don't matter what you say, whatever you look at in that. And I wholeheartedly agree with you. Like Italy, Croatia, I think they're the games we should have won. And quite rightly so. France probably could have won that game if the penalty had gone in. And Spain, it could have gone either way. But we was in the game yesterday. So he's got to two finals, a semi-final and a quarter-final. If you look at that on paper and just look at that without looking at anything else, Dan, just looking at it as paper, what has your achievements been? Like you go into an interview and you go, Gareth, what's your achievements been? Well, I've got England to 2 Euro finals, a semi-final and a quarter-final of the World Cup. You're all going to go, wow, he's our man. Can't argue that, but when you analyse it and start looking at it, we should have got to where we got. In this tournament here, we haven't played anybody until we played the final. And we give it a good go. I didn't think we was inferior yesterday. I thought it could have gone either way, Dan. Fine lines. I actually said at half time, I thought Spain were probably the better side, but only just. There weren't a lot in it. There wasn't a lot in it, I thought both centre forwards were poor, if I'd be really honest, in the talk. But, like Morata and Kane were like, put them both together, they wouldn't have made a decent one. They were just poor. But they had other players. They're wide players. I think at the end of it, they got their wide players in the game better than what we did. But you look at it, we had Saka playing on one side and Bellingham on the other. And I will never understand that. So that's the one thing there. The other thing that's going for him is, who is going to come in and be the next manager? Now, Eddie Howe's been mentioned, but if I'm Eddie Howe, there's no way I'm leaving Newcastle, Dan, for that. Newcastle's a fantastic job, Premier League, massive club. Why would you want to leave that? So I only think there's one manager, Lee Carsley's been mentioned, because he's done the under-21s. Right, okay. Not going to argue with that. The only one that I can think that could probably do it is Graham Potter. Yeah. If I'm being really honest, it's the only one that I'm going to throw in there and say, if you went to Graham Potter and said, do you want to be manager of England? And he says yes, then I think then that's the way to go. If he says no, then I don't know where we go from it. And is it better to the devil you know? And this is the problem.
What we've got to decide, and the FA have got to decide. And Gareth Southgate, first of all, has got to decide if he wants to stay on, because he's got to want to do it. The FA got to want him. I think if both of them want to, I think he'll be our manager for the next tournament. I've looked at the next manager odds, the top 10. I'll go with the top 10. Hang on.
Go on, then. That'd be interesting.
7, 8, 9, 10. Right. I'll do it back. I'll do 10th favourite right away through to the top. Right. So in 10th, 33-1, Steven Gerrard. Right. 9th, Michael Carrick. In 8th is Pep Guardiola, which is not going to happen. Frank Lampard, another one being linked. Jurgen Klopp. Now we go down to the final 5. Thomas Tuchel, Mauricio Pochettino, and then the top 3, Lee Carsley, Eddie Howe, and Graham Potter. So Graham Potter's favourite, then Eddie Howe, then Lee Carsley. They're the 3, and I think it will be one of those 3. I really do. Now, I don't really know that any of those are wow managers that make me go, God, get him in. But I would have Graham Potter out of those. Now, Eddie Howe, the only reason I would have Eddie Howe be my number 1, but I'm with you. I don't think he's going to leave Newcastle unless they sack him and they want, these owners now that have got rid of Amanda Staveley and all them lot. If they go, right, top 4 already, you're gone. We're bringing in Simeone or Conte or Mourinho, whoever the hell they want. That could happen. He could then come be England manager. But I think it's very strange that Graham Potter has not got another job after Chelsea. I think that's very strange. When there's a lot of managers that wanted him when he was at Brighton, I think that he might be holding out for that. I think he might be the next England manager, Graham Potter. And I'll be okay with that because people have forgotten what he did at Swansea and Brighton because of how it ended at Chelsea. Now, I'm not saying he played free-flowing, attactive football that was beautiful, Pep Guardiola style to watch, but he actually had some bottle about him and got Brighton playing football and got them scoring goals and got them into a style of football which was attractive and also successful. You know, let's be real, Brighton, it weren't like they got De Zerbi and all of a sudden were good. They were really good under Graham Potter. You know, De Zerbi got them into Europe, don't get me wrong, fantastic achievement, but it weren't like he finished bottom half with Brighton and then De Zerbi come in and got them into Europe. Potter had pretty much built the base and foundation there for De Zerbi to take over easily. So I would have Graham Potter 100%. I'd have him over Lee Carsley. I'd have him over Frank Lampard. I'd have him over Steven Gerrard. The only ones that I wouldn't have him over there are Pep Guardiola and Klopp. But let's be real, Pep Guardiola and Klopp aren't coming to England, mate. Yeah, so let's forget that. The only reason I'm mentioning them is because they're somehow in the top 10 of permanent managers, potentially odds-wise. I think it would be Graham Potter. I would like to see a change of England manager now. I think he's had 4 tournaments. I think he's failed to get us across the line. Doesn't mean he's been a failure, but it doesn't mean he's been a success. And that might not make sense, that statement, but you have to be successful by doing that, Lee, don't you? You can't say, it's been a success semi-final. That's a success. That might be a success if you're Switzerland. It might be a success if you're Sweden or Canada or even Norway who haven't managed to get in it. But it's not a success for England. England were favourites to win the whole thing, and we didn't. Yeah. So we can't be successful, right? So that's the way I see it. I also think as well, I just wanted to quickly run, I did this on my channel and earlier, I wanted to see where you're at with this. I did the, bloody hell, mine's gone blank now. Player ratings, that's what I'm trying to get through. I did the player ratings for the tournament and I wanted to get your opinions on this as well, because I think some of the individual performances, as much as we can point the finger at Southgate, I think some of the individual performances were really poor, mate. I've got to be real. And I thought some of them were good. I've got to say, I thought there's 3 or 4 England players that had good tournaments. And I think that has to be mentioned as well. So I wanted to start with the player ratings with you, mate, and see where you're at. And then I'll give my rating after you. So let's go with Pickford in goal. What did you think?
Before we go, Pickford, I just want to say, I would still put Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard in that mix. And the reason being, exactly what you said about Graham Potter. Like, you know, I thought Frank Lampard done a fantastic job at Chelsea first round to get him in top 4 when there was the transfer thing. So, you know, he coached a good side, young players. So I think he would be good. The only thing I've got to worry about that is he might make Mason Mount captain. So that's the only worry about that. And also, Steven Gerrard done a fantastic job at Rangers. So I think that because things didn't quite go well at Villa, I still put them in the mix, like, you know. So going on to the players' ratings, great shout. This one, I'm going to go Pickford with a 7.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he was brilliant as what everybody's saying he is. I think his kicking is a weak part of our game. We go far too long too many times when it's a possession-based international with sort of possession-based. So I think that he was there. Walker, I'm going for 5 at most. I thought he was poor all the way through. Stones picked himself up after the first few games, so I'm going to give him a 6. Gay, I think, was the player for us. I'm giving him an 8. Trippier, I think, gets a little bit of raw press because he did play out of position. 6. Shaw, when he came into the team, 7. Midfield, Rice, 6 overall. I didn't think he was fantastic. I thought there was some in and out performances. I don't think that the system and the way we play helped him at times. You know what I mean? All this talk about he couldn't pass the ball back there. There was times when he couldn't pass it forward. So I give him a 6. Manu, I'm going to give a 7. I thought when he came in, he done fantastically well. Trent in midfield, if I'll be really honest, 5. Nothing spectacular from him. Saka, 7. I felt, looked very, very jaded and tired towards the end. I've got to say that, Dan. But I think done okay. On the other side, Bellingham, 5. I think 5, maybe 6. Maybe 6 because he did get a couple of goals and the wonder overhead kick. So I'm going to give him a 6, but I thought overall, for the hype and everything, very, very disappointing. Foden a 5. Thought he was one half. He played really, really well. Kane 4. Scored a few goals for us. Kane, I've got to say that, important goals, but by his standards, so poor, so poor. If I'll be really, really honest, have I missed anybody at this moment in time?
Could throw in Palmer, Watkins, and Tony.
Palmer. I'm pushing him for an 8. I think he played really, really well every time he come on. Watkins a 7 for the goal. Gallagher 5. Didn't really nail it, if I'll be honest, in that position there. So I think that's it. Gordon, you can't really give too much for those few minutes. Him and Tony done what they did, when it really mattered. But yeah, so I think that's about it. I think really for me.
Yeah, listen, I can't I disagree with much of what you've said. I mean, I give Pickford a 7.5 for the fact that he was, he got us the penalty save, which was needed for the Switzerland game. Other than that, thought he was pretty good. Kicking, I agree with you, not the best. Kyle Walker 4, one of the worst I've seen in a long time from him. Looks finished, if that's his level now. Stones, I've given him a 5 because I was disappointed. At one stage, he passed him the ball and he was looking up at the sky and Pickford nearly got chipped. I don't remember what game that was.
Yeah, I remember that game. Yeah, yes. Yeah, I
absolutely terrible. Gareth 7.5, I think probably one of the best players in the tournament for England. I thought that was very impressive considering he's 23, young, stepped up to the tournament when it's needed. And I thought that out of all the defenders, he'd be the one that needed carrying, and he didn't need carrying at all. I thought he was one of our best players. So very, very impressed with him. Kieran Trippier, I'll give it a 4. I just thought it didn't work for him at left-hand side. I thought he was terrible. He's cutting inside. He put in a couple of deliveries with his right foot, but it was just ineffective, really, for the whole tournament. Luke Shaw, I've given a 6. I couldn't give him much more than that because obviously he was injured. But I do rate him, and I do think he played well there. Give us a lot more balance when he was at left back. Just nice to have a natural left back there for once. Thought he played really well last night against Lamine Yamal, so I think he deserves that. Saka, I've given him a 7.5 for the pure fact that although he tired towards the end, I thought he was one of our best players, Lee, because he's the reason we're still in the tournament, reason we're in the final. Moments were all him. He terrorised left backs all over the world. But also, mate, what I will say with Saka, he played everywhere, Lee.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't matter to me whether he was right wing back, left wing back, left wing. He would have played anywhere. So I've got to give him a higher score for that. Declan Rice, I've only given him a 6 because although he was man of the match in one of the games, I thought he was pretty much meaty for the rest of them, if I'm honest. That wasn't the Declan Rice that we've seen in an Arsenal shirt. Maybe the fact he played 40 to 50 games last season affected him, but he didn't look like the Rice that I've been watching week in, week out. Kobbie Mainoo, I've given him a 7. I probably would have given him more if I'm honest, but he didn't play every single minute of the games. 19 years old. He looks very comfortable on the ball, mate. I'm very, very impressed with him. I think he is going to be a talent, mate. An absolute talent in Man United midfield. So, yeah, they're very, very lucky to have him. They need to do everything they can to keep hold of him. Phil Foden, I've given a 5. I just didn't think he was good enough, if I'm honest. I thought he was pretty much invisible other than the first half against the Netherlands. Bellingham, he gets a 6 for me for the overhead kick. Otherwise, pretty poor. I know he scored the penalty. I know he scored the header in the first game. That probably is the reason he's getting higher than some of the others, because him and Foden, I didn't think were much between him, if I'm honest. Maybe Bellingham a bit better. So, yeah, gets higher score. Kane, I've been really harsh on him because I've given him a 3, and I'll tell you why I've given him a 3. If you're not fit, you don't play. I know you want to, but you as the captain need to take the leadership qualities to say, I cannot play, I'm not fit enough. And he didn't do that, and he was poor, mate. He was playing in central defence most of the time. He certainly weren't up top. He was behind Foden's, Saka's, Bellingham's. Most of the team, he was playing behind them. It was that bad, mate. And when Saka and Walker and Trippier or Shaw were anywhere near the box, he was nowhere near the box. He was back behind them, trying to catch up. He's having a chat with Declan Rice. I thought he was embarrassingly bad. Palmer deserves a 7 to a 7.5 because every time he got subbed on, he changed the game, made something happen, created a goal, assisted a goal, scored a goal. He was one of the players of the tournament for me. Watkins gets a 6. Brilliant when he come on and scored against the Netherlands. Other than that, didn't really see too much from him, if I'm honest. But again, don't think he got enough minutes. I'll give Tony a 5.5 because he can't really get much more than that for 5 minutes that he played. But he did cause havoc when he come on against Slovakia. And Gareth Southgate, I'm going to give him a 6 or 5 or 6, really, I suppose, because I don't think he did the business, mate. What would you give Southgate out of 10?
Oh, that's a good question. I think, you know, it, because we didn't win it and the way we lost it in the end. I think at the end of the day, you'd have to say got out tactic at the end of the game. I think that we went for it, and then I get why he wanted to bring Gallagher on, because he wanted to shore up the midfield a little bit, because he'd left Rice in there on his own. Took the gamble. I think you've got to give him a 6 out of 10 at the end of it. Like, you know, he got us to the final. Luck and judgment, I think. But do you think, like, you know, I think if Ange was in charge of that England team, Arteta was in charge of that England team, Eddie Howe was in charge of that England team, I think all three of them would have got to the final, at least. You know what I mean? I think might have done it even better wise. I think any decent manager in the Premier League would have got us to the final. I said it all along. He was the best team.
Yeah,
I look at him. We had the best players there. I get this thing. You know, we probably look better in Qatar because it was halfway through the season, and we do look a little bit tired towards the end of the season. I get that, but people will say, well, it's the same as the German, same as the Spanish, same as etc. But I do think that the Premier League is a little bit more intense, quicker than any other league. But yeah, you know, I generally don't think that Southgate's good enough. I know the players turn around and give him a lot of praise and everything there, but let's face it, and be really honest about it. If Arsenal was Mikel left tomorrow and we'd be linked with Southgate, I'll be handing him his season ticket, mate. I really would, like, you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So from that point of view, we know he's not good enough. You know what I mean? Like that's there's a difference, isn't there? Like, you know what I mean? So for his inefficiencies and his whatever, to get him where he's got him, he's done well, I suppose. So 6 out of 10 is the maximum. I know people are saying like 3, and Leo's saying 3 there and everything. I get that, but the fact of the matter is he ain't that good, Dan. And let's be honest, you know, I mean, he's done well with what he's, you know, to be where he is, I suppose, like, you know what I mean? But at the end of it, like, you know, I don't think if he does get a top job, I'll really be honest, if he does, I don't think he's going to do well at it, Dan. I really don't, like, you know what I mean? So it'd be interesting to see where he goes from here now. I'll probably a more of a administrative role, I suppose, would be better for him. I don't know, you know, a bit of punditry or whatever. I think, look, listen, as you said earlier on, I think he is a good speaker, comes across as a all right sort of a guy. But as you say, we want more than that, don't we? We want more than that.
100% we do. Other thing that we need more than is likes on this video. Let's make sure we met the likes up, people. Like and subscribe. We're getting close to 40k. We want you to be a part of it. So click the subscribe button and the like button, because it's absolutely free to do. We're not here 100 likes yet. There's nearly 300 people in here. So let's make sure that we do that, please, people. All you've got to do is click the like button and the subscribe button, and it's job done. Let's take a couple of questions before we do come to a close, Lee. I think these are pretty good. I've got to take this one because this was quality you asked earlier. I'll let you ask this one because it's for you. Lee, what would you rather win? Would you rather win the Euros, the Ashes, or the Rugby World Cup?
Well, listen, we've won the Ashes, we've won the Rugby World Cup, so I would like England to win something. Like, you know, if I'll be really honest, you know, I really would. You know, the Ashes in 2005 was unreal. I have to say that to watch that, and the Rugby World Cup in 2003. I remember getting up early and watching that. Was fantastic. I enjoyed them. I tell you why I enjoyed them a lot more, because I got no what's the word I would say, like, you know, allegiances to any of the players that played in that. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like, I'm a big cricket fan. Love Yorkshire. But if Yorkshire win, like they done yesterday, oh, yes, Yorkshire won, I move on with that. If they lose, I'm not that like I am, like tribalism towards Arsenal, like, you know. So I find it a little bit tougher, you know what I mean? But I would like, come on. I was genuinely gutted last night, Dan.
Yeah, I was.
I'd had a few beers, and I had a good day. I really we got back to my mate's house around about 6 o'clock when we said, like, should we start the beers now? And we had a few beers. And I was buzzing for the game. We had the England music on, you know what I mean? Like, and all the songs and all that. And I genuinely thought England were going to win it, Dan. I really did. Maybe that's why I'm a little bit down. But coming home last night, disappointed. And I've woke up this morning disappointed as well, So, come on. Let's hope we can win the World Cup in 2 years' time.
I really hope that as well. Got a couple of questions, but I've got one first, right? I've always wanted to ask this because I find this one of the hardest questions to answer, right? Would you rather, you can do all three, but you can only pick one, right? Would you rather get a 9-darter in darts, a 147 in snooker, or a hole-in-one in golf?
Right. Well, believe it or not, I have two of them. I have done a hole-in-one in golf, and I have got the maximum at darts. 147. I'll get nowhere near that, Dan. Nowhere near it. Like, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, my darts one, I think, was purely luck. You know what I mean? That it happened, and also I do think with the hole-in-one was fluky. You know what I mean? You got a really good shot, but there's a lot of luck in it. 147. That's skill. Like, I'll be lucky. I'll be happy to get 20. I think, really, like, you know what I mean. Donna, like, your mum's out of order, was it crazy? I mean, your mum, I tell you, like, you know what I mean? She's bang out of order, like, you know what I mean? Right to ask that. What you ask her, she'd be all nice when I see her at the Emirates. I see her like,
that's golly. I like that, man. Well done.
Well done. That is a very good one.
That was very good.
Very good, like, you know what I mean? Yeah, I'd love, I'd love to be. I love me snooker as well, like, you know what I mean? But snooker would be the one for me, like 147.
Yeah, listen, I'm exactly the same. It's the one I always pick. Because you can throw the darts and get a bit lucky. You can smash the shot and it can go in. But my goodness, 147, that is absolutely, you've got to be bang on. 15 reds, 15 blacks, and all the colours. Like, let's be real. That is hard to do, mate. Very, very hard to do. And I still sometimes now, people might think this is weird if you don't like snooker. I still sometimes now watch Ronnie clearing up 147s on YouTube because he's my favourite snooker player. It's probably my favourite ever sportsman, if I'm honest. Yeah. I had to pick one ever sportsman, favourite ever. It probably would be Ronnie O'Sullivan. But I look at it now and I just think, how are you doing that with ease? Like, it makes you look like you can go and do it now. Like, do you know what I mean? It makes it. That's how good he is. You think, I'm going to go and have a go at that now. Go pick up a cue, and if you could get, you know what I mean, as if you could do it. He does it so easy, mate. Effortlessly.
100%. And when Ronnie's in a tournament, I watch it. As soon as he goes out, I lose a little bit of interest in it.
So do I. I mean, is that the same as you, mate? I'll get the I don't watch it now. I do still, but I get like,
but it's not the same. You know, when Ronnie's playing in the Worlds, I'll watch it all the way through. And even if I'm out and about, I'll stick it on my phone. You know what I mean? I don't do that with any other player. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, and when he goes out of it, I'm not watching that no more. Like, and I do watch it, but not as, like with Ronnie, like, so I tell you what, do you know what, to make it a little bit easier, like the 147, because that's professional standards. If you said, like, would you like to clear the colours? I'd love to be able to do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, so you got like yellow, green, brown, blue, pink, black, finish them off 27. Right, do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, I know what you're saying because I used to be quite good at snooker and I've done that.
Oh, you've done that? Oh, right.
Yeah.
I've you know what I mean? Now that is standard for a snooker player to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So I've never been able to do that. I'll tell you what,
I think my highest break is 40. I've done lineup before, which is like a training exercise. I got like 65 or something like that, which was
bloody hell.
Break. But on my highest ever break in a game was 43, and that was red, black, and all the colours. But I've been going back a long time. I wouldn't be able to do it now.
That's quite, I think I'll get to
the
black
when I was younger. But say again.
I'd get to the black and the shakes would be there. Like, you know
Oh yeah, can you imagine? And I always feel terrible when people have done that, Lee. Like you see people like, remember Ken Doherty done it once. There's a couple of others that have done it. You get to like the last black and they miss it, and you think, oh, and it's on 140, and they miss it. Oh God, all that money they've just chucked away, And oh God, I don't know.
Do you remember the time Ronnie O'Sullivan asked how much it was?
Yes,
have you seen it?
yeah.
And it wasn't enough money, so he got to 140 and he left it there. Do you remember that?
Yeah, he's incredible, isn't it? That is unbelievable.
And he just walked off and that's incredible. Like,
that is when you know it. Yeah, that is the one, mate. But anyway, we've gone to snooker now somehow. I did have a couple more questions before we go. Where are we? Okay, yeah, we might as well answer this one. We have half touched on it. But Dan and Lee, who would your next England manager be? I will go realistic and I will say I would like Eddie Howe, but I think it will be Graham Potter, and I'm happy with Graham Potter. What about you, Lee?
I'm the same. I like Eddie Howe. As I said, I wouldn't be against Steven Gerrard or Frank Lampard. I wouldn't be against it. It's got to be an Englishman as far as I'm concerned. Nothing against. I just think that that's the right thing to do. But I think, Graham Potter would be my first choice. Yeah.
Okay, we'll touch on this because it is Arsenal related. We were going to do an Arsenal show tomorrow onwards, but we'll touch on this question from Niffin because he's a regular listener and he's good with his questions. Big up, bro. He says, "Hey Dan and Lee, do you think that Mikel Merino for £20 million is worth it? Still would have liked to have seen Fofana or Onana instead. Well, of course, Onana has gone to Aston Villa now for £50 million. Fofana has gone to AC Milan now for £25 million, which I think is an absolute steal." But Marino is a player who, at £20 million, Lee, could be a player that can come in and do a job for the Arsenal. And he's being linked heavily with us. Apparently, Villa are looking at him as well, but we're favourites to sign him. £20 million, 28 years old, 6'2", midfielder who can play the 8. What do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, well, as I say, I think that I would like to see that happen. Then along with another one and a big one at that, I still think Arsenal are going to go big. And Ireland was sort of someone they was linked with. They've obviously not gone down that route. So there must be someone they're looking at and they're going to go in big. I'm pretty sure Arsenal, you know what I mean? And I think we're going to know within the next couple of weeks. There's still little rumours going about Bruno now. I don't know if that's true. That could well happen. There's been talk with his agent. That could be all talk, as we know. But I do think somewhere along the line, you've seen these players that we've all sort of thought, well, yeah, wouldn't mind him. Not saying we're definitely 100% struck on them, but we've let them go. So why have we let them go? So there must be a reason. So we'll wait and see. So I do think Arsenal are going to come in and with an exciting midfield signing. I really do believe that will be the case.
Listen, I'm with you. I like what I see and hear from him. He's not going to take us to the next level, but I'm with you. I think a bigger name will come in alongside him. I've got to say, though, from Red Shabby in the chat, this is a great shout. Gary O'Neill for the next England manager.
Yes, I see that one in there. That would be a good one. Again, I wouldn't argue that. They've done a very, very good job at Wolves. Would you leave Wolves to go to England? That's another thing. Like years ago, you wouldn't. You would definitely say.
Wouldn't even think about it, would you? Yeah.
You wouldn't think about it. But now, it's still a good job, Wolves. And it is. Do you want to do that job of not part time because it isn't, but you know what I mean, like day to day on the training field, 38 games during the season, or do you want to do that with England? That's the thing. And I'm pretty sure that someone like Gary O'Neill would still rather be a Premier League manager. I don't know. What is bigger, Premier League manager or England manager? This is the thing now. It's Premier League manager.
Years ago, it used to be your Premier League manager. You've made it, and then when you become the best English Premier manager, you become the England manager. That's how it used to be, But now people don't look at the England manager in the same light because Gareth Southgate wouldn't get the Wolves job. No way. Gareth Southgate leaves England. He ain't going to get a Wolves job like Gary O'Neill has. So does Gary O'Neill look at it? I still think there is the managers in that ilk that will look at the England manager job and go, yeah, I want it. But I'm with you. I don't believe that it is quite like it used to be. But that is a good shout. I must say that is a very, very good
Yeah,
shout. Because
yeah,
right now, Eddie Howe and Gary O'Neill, for me, are the two best English managers. So I think you have to look at that and say, yeah, it really should be one of them. And if Eddie Howe don't want to leave Newcastle, then we look at Gary O'Neill. And if they don't want to, then we should look at Graham Parr. Because right now, O'Neill was in a better position. You know, what he's done at Wolves, I think, has been very underrated. And I think, Bournemouth as well, he went and did a brilliant job there. I couldn't believe they got rid of him,
yeah.
So I
I,
think, it's
I'm
a
going
good
to go
shout.
along with that. It's a great shout. That's a great shout,
Yeah, great shout. Wicked. All right, mate. Well, listen, we'll leave it there. We'll be back tomorrow and we shall love you and leave you. Make sure you do us a favour, people. Make sure you get us up to what we need. Likewise, at the moment, what are we on? We aren't even on 100. Let's get to 100 likes, people. We only need 12 more. All we need to do is click the like button and the subscribe button, and we will be there. I'll be on later on my channel on Football's 12th Man, so please come and give me a like and subscribe over there. And Lee, I'll let you see us out, bro.
Yeah, listen, the Euros is over now. It's all now for us anyway. Transfers, see what we can do, and building towards next season. I will say, one thing that come out yesterday, Rodri come off at half time, maybe with an injury that might be a beneficial to Arsenal. Don't like to see players get injured, but if there is a player get injured, we ain't going to be moaning too much that it's him. So we leave it at that.